Welcome back to the Business of Soul Searching. I'm Erin, your host, and I invite you to join me as I travel from city to city, interviewing people from different walks of life that have faced their fear and came out on the other side. Are you ready for this? Hello everyone, this is Erin from the Business of Soul Searching podcast, and I'm here with my usual mix of soul searching stories and controversy. I have a special guest here today who is founder and CEO of Holistic Roots LLC, co-writer of congressional award-winning play Behind Closed Doors, author of upcoming book Made of Soy, and holistic wellness coach and speaker. Please, ladies and gentlemen, welcome Satta Jallah to the show.
Thank you for having me. I'm so excited to be here today. Thank you for having me.
I'm so happy to have you. I feel like, this is a long time coming. We've known each other for a little while. Definitely years now. Time just kind of...
I know!
Time just... I don't want to say it escapes me, but... when you look back and you're like, when did I meet that person? It was a while ago. And, before I get into anything else, I do have to say this. I told you I was going to talk about how we met and everything. So for folks who are kind of just getting to know her, she's an awesome, very confident, that's what I read from you, very centered and informational, educational person. Like I feel like I sit with you for 5 minutes and I'm just like, why am I living my life like this? Like I did not know I could, So we were talking about it earlier. We met at 10 Rocks. It was my first time going there. I was with my friend Michelle and we ended up being partnered up. Yeah. So it was kind of like, women's empowerment event. And we partnered up almost like an icebreaker activity, I think. Yeah. And I forget exactly what the premise was, but it was like, we had to talk about what calms us or something that stimulates us or something that just makes us feel whole. And I just gotten out of a breakup. I was more so talking about how I have this convertible, not in a showy way. Do you remember this now?
I remember that.
And I was like, that and classical music really calmed me down. I was like, this is what calms me down and this is very like down to earth, whatever. And you were more so talking about intrinsic things and just very more so like fulfilled. I don't know. It made me check myself.
Oh wow, I didn't even know
that. It really did. And it wasn't like
I remember saying like my yoga mat or something like
that. Exactly. It was so
something
it was
corny.
It was so simplistic, but it was like then I thought in my life, and that's what's so important, everyone who's listening, to surround yourself with people that are different from you. Is because you learn things and it makes you kind of take a look and be like, okay, why did that person choose a yoga mat, for example? Right. Versus like a car. Because that's just where my mind was at. People are probably like, Erin, a car? Really? This was like 2016, 2015. Yeah. And it's just funny because from that moment, then I started really looking inward and looking at what do I have to bring to the table that has nothing to do with cars, clothes, anything external. Like what actually makes me happy. So that was kind of part of my soul searching journey.
Oh, wow.
So, you're a part of that and just following you in your journey and your talk about Yoni and yoga and, we're going to get into that, of course, that and empowerment and advocating, so I thank you for that. I'm so glad. It's just weird how things come together and then we're partners and I'm like kind of my opposite a little bit. Like we're kind of similar, but at the same time,
we were on two different energetic spectrums, in a sense, opposite sides of the energetic spectrum, and not in a bad way at all. Not in a bad way, because I felt, when I met you, I felt this very vibrant and vibrant energy and excited energy, youthful excitement energy. I was like, wow, she's a really beautiful person. And so, yeah, it wasn't like, in a negative way at all, because I feel like, those are the things that balance us. I think
True.
we probably represented balance in its most authentic way, right? Because here we are, two beautiful women of color, two beautiful black women, let's just say that.
Like,
and two beautiful black melanated women.
Yes.
And that just kind of represents this like, balanced scale, because we've come into, I truly believe that we've come into this time space reality to manifest those material things.
Agreed.
You know what I'm saying? But also making sure that we have cultivated the inward spiritual things as well. You know what I mean? Because I truly believe that if you have one without the other, you know what I'm saying, it becomes a very imbalanced type of situation. So
it's true.
Yeah.
And that's kind of, not to get too much on a tangent on that, but that's kind of where I was. I thought that, that was enough. And that was enough in the moment to get me through, my breakup at the time. But being exposed to people, and this is really the purpose of this podcast, but being exposed to people who are reaching for more, who are looking for more, who are brave enough to reach deeper in themselves of what really makes them whole, is really what changed me. And that's kind of the purpose of this podcast, is to show like, you're evolving at this point, but is this the most? Is this the best? Is this the most fulfilled you're going to be? And if not, take a risk, try something new. You never know what's going to happen. And there really are some awesome networking events in Providence. Definitely, take your time, check it out, and all of that. But so before I go any further, I just want to take a moment to thank my beautiful listeners for supporting. And for me, you guys can find me on Instagram of Business of Soul, on Facebook, The Business of Soul Searching, and on Twitter, Business of Soul 9. And if you don't mind dropping your handles, just while we get warmed up.
So you can follow me on Instagram at My Holistic Roots. So at My Holistic Roots. And then also on Facebook, I have my Holistic Roots Movement page, and I also have a group. It's but if you send in asking permission to join the group, go through the different questions that I have,
which
and you can join.
I love this.
So it's called, the name of the private group is called Yoga and the Yoni Healing Circle. So this is an exclusive group for women who are looking to go deeper into understanding things about sensuality, understanding things about learning about how to holistically care for themselves in a more intimate way.
Which is so important, and we're going to jump into that. Before we do, I always do a little game with my guests. I have them pick a number from 1 to 50, and then the question that corresponds with that number, I read the question, you answer it to the best of your ability.
Okay.
So as long as you're comfortable, you're like, whatever, here we go.
Let's do it. Let's
do it. Okay, so pick a number, please, from 1 to 50.
9.
9? Okay, that's my favorite number. That's so funny. Okay, so where would you travel to if money was not an option? Top 3 places.
Dubai. Bali. And South Africa.
Okay, definitely me too. That's kind of aligns with my. That's so funny. I've been to Bali, and I suggest that to everybody. I wouldn't necessarily travel back to where I traveled, but Bali is. I feel like the vibe is just. I love it. But why would you go to each of them, if you don't mind me asking?
I would like to go to Dubai because, you know what I mean? Not because like this new hot spot. It just seems like back to kind of like our beginning of our conversation with this whole manifestation of material stuff, matter, you know what I mean? Again, because when you look, I'm very big into like etymology of words, and when you think of matter, mother and matter are, very closely correlated, etymology in an etymological sense, I guess. So I think of Dubai as a very opulent place, And I want to be in environments that exude opulence. You know what I mean? Luxury, opulence, and things like that. And not from a very shallow perspective, but just from a very metaphysical perspective, being able, because I know what poverty's like. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I already know that experience.
Yeah, like, I know what that side of the spectrum is
like. Let me go to the other side of the spectrum now and get that energetic experience and figure out what's going, and just very curious as to what's going to happen to me energetically in a space like that. And then knowing that it's also, you know, kind of like this very spiritual place, you know what I'm saying? And I've always admired Islamic culture, you know, from afar. Not necessarily a lot of the politicized ideologies associated with it, but just an energetic and spiritual perspective, to be able to observe that from a more close proximity is interesting to me. And I know Bali is this, when I think of Bali, the pictures that I've seen of it, it's this just beautiful landscape, you
absolutely.
know, tranquil landscape. And if I'm not mistaken, it's a Muslim country as well too, an Islamic country as well too. But I also think of like the lush greenness of it, and the, you know, just beautiful scenery.
Definitely.
Being in I guess visually appeasing environments is huge to me. Like, I'm a very sensual person.
Me too.
So
yeah.
That definitely heightens, you know, someone's sensuality, of course.
And just experience of observing life too.
And then South Africa, because, you know, I just always have been curious, like, when I was growing up, like, you know, being first generation, like, my parents immigrated to the United States from Liberia. But my parents, I don't know, you know, if it was on purpose or just kind of happened that way, they always educated us about, you know, Africa. They always let us know that we were Africans before anything, you know, that the continent of Africa is our motherland. And I remember growing up, and Nelson Mandela, you know, this was during apartheid era, you know, things like that was going on. And I remember, I think I was like 12 years old. No, I was either 10 or 12. Between the ages of 10 and 12, when he got released from prison. And I was just like, oh man, like, I wanna go there. I remember seeing footages of people, you know, celebrating in the streets and things like that. And I feel like South African culture is very beautiful. I love their musicality, you know, and I've even watched many, you know, documentaries on how they use their music as a huge part of their resistance. You know what I mean? So when I think of like word, sound, and power, you know, all culminating together, because that's something that's very important to me. Word, sound, power is very important to me. Back to the senses, right? So I think of a place like South Africa that has used music and song
as a way of
expression, a deep part of their activism, their revolutionary ideals, and just, you know, the things that shifted the atmosphere to, you know what I mean, have the first Black elected president, you know, after this long lasting regime of apartheid, you know. So
that's awesome. I in all the places that you listed, I was definitely on my list, if not returning. And I think travel is beautiful in general. I always encourage people, I'm like, please travel, please get out of almost like this 9 to 5
rat race.
I can be a radical. I'm like, I can be a radical sometimes, but in regards to traveling, exactly, a rat race. It's like traveling just teaches you so many different things. It teaches you that you may not be the biggest fish, you may not be the smartest, you may not be just the best at something, and that's good. It's okay. It's okay to meet people. And for me, not to be too long on this, I'm going to ask you the next question in a little bit, but I know when I was 16, I went to France, Italy, and Greece. And when I went to France, I stayed with a family, and the daughter, who was the same age as me, we were talking, and, you know, she was like, oh, how many languages do you know? And I'm like, English and like however many years of Spanish, but I'm trying and I still don't really get it. And there it's like French, German, Spanish, like these are like kind of automatics, and English. And it's just, to me, it even at 16, it just really shook me to be like, okay, like I'm not the smartest person coming from America. It completely changes everything that you know, really. And it's so important.
And it kind of gives you an
idea. And she said it humbly. She was like, I only know 4 or 5 languages. I'm like, only?
Right.
I'm like, only? And she's like, yeah, you know, it's just kind of mandated, like it's part of, but if you think of her marketability in regards to the jobs that she can get around the world, that she knows all these languages, and even at 16. Yeah. So it's a huge topic. Okay, so pick another number from 1 to 50.
3.
3. Okay, what is your favorite part of your personality?
The favorite part of my personality? Wow, that's a deep one. Ooh, because like, you know, it's so like, you never think of...
Yeah, multifaceted and layered, yeah.
The most interesting part of my personality... my ability to read energy. You know what I'm saying? Like, being in certain energetic spaces or around certain people. So like, you know, back to my son. And one of the main reasons why I chose to homeschool him in January was because we went to his back to school bash and we were meeting the new teachers and stuff like that. And like, I was kind of like, you know, there was something in my spirit that was like, I wonder what kind of teacher he's going to have this year. And girl,
when
like, I met the teacher, I was like, this ain't going to be a good school year.
This is not working for me at all.
This is not going to be a good school year. Within minutes of meeting her and just reading just her energetic aura, you know, because he went to the same school for kindergarten. He had the best teacher. He loved his kindergarten teacher. And mind you, he came in like a month late. Oh, okay. You know, because I had him in the Montessori school system for all of preschool. And then kindergarten, I couldn't afford Montessori anymore.
Yeah.
So he was in a public kindergarten. And he came in a month late. And I loved her. You know what I mean? But I love making my presence known, especially to these educators, you know what I'm saying, that are going to be spending 8 hours a day with my children and kind of already have their own preconceived notions, being that the community that we live in and things like that. So I love to go in and interact with these people and make my presence known. Like, you ain't dealing with no
regular
stereotypical
this ain't no regular mother. This ain't no regular
yeah, some regular schmegula single black mother.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
So and she was with it. You know, she was really with it. She embraced him and met him where he was with his learning capacity, was because he was reading way above the kindergarten level, you know, after leaving Montessori.
Which can be troubling to teachers. Sometimes they don't know what to do with those children that like, oh, you're going too far. And it's like, well, they're bored. And that doesn't mean you're a bad teacher or that they're a bad student. It just means that they're ahead of where they need to be. So how do we adjust to them? Right.
And that's where that was the issue that I ran into with now the next teacher for first grade. You know what I mean? I truly believe, from what my son had told me, she did not know how to handle certain behavioral issues in the classroom, and then it was now hindering the children that did really want to learn. And my son was now becoming very recluse, and his whole attitude was changing, and he wasn't even eating at school because a lot of the things that they were serving at school was not what he's used to. And when I would pack a lunch for him, like, he wasn't allowed, like, he would make a mistake and forget his lunch, and he's not allowed to go back to the classroom to get his lunch. And so I just looked at the whole situation for a long time, and I was like, okay, let's just try this homeschool thing, you know?
Because he's just not, it's not.
Because I know
and
who my son is. And is it worth it, him going exactly.
Is it, what is he even getting?
It's like
that
sending the lamb to the slaughter. You know, and I'm like, not on my watch, not for my son, you know.
Yeah, because you have to live with that always.
I'd rather it be my on my responsibility on, you know, certain things that missed out, you know, as opposed to trusting someone else that comes from a totally different, you know, way of thinking, totally different cultural perspective. And granted, interacting with people from different cultural perspectives are great.
It's a positive,
but we know that there's certain stigmas and there's certain preconceived notions and stereotypes that are put on our children. So, and people live in that space.
They do.
We got to keep it real.
It takes a long time to get them out of that. It takes people
live in that
junior
space,
high, high school. People graduate from high school and hate their skin color and hate their lineage and deny their blackness and deny. It takes forever. I'm still learning. I'm still learning to appreciate, or I should say, I'm just learning for the past couple of years to appreciate my blackness. Being black and raised in a black family, I can only, and it's like if you can catch it from the beginning and just be like, are they teaching him to be empowered?
To be empowered, because, and that's a big thing. Like, oh, if the public school wasn't good, why didn't you sell him to private school? First of all, I ain't got the money like that right now. And second of all,
what are they saying? We're still on the same
He can be getting a good quality education there, but is he going to feel empowered as a melanated young boy?
That's true.
You know what I mean? And where we live in like puritanical New England, you know what I'm saying? Those chances are slim to none.
That's true. Because people go to college and like someone can go to college. Someone can be like a millionaire. Someone can go to college and be making however many figures and still not understand themselves and still not be happy in their space. And still well, anyways, this is just what I've learned recently. Anyways, is that private school, in regards to the connection between like, oh yeah, it's going to help them get into college and so on and so forth. But is then college going to teach them their blackness? Is college going to help them be confident in their space, that they don't have to shrink when they're in certain like boardrooms, and that they can
put
be
on a different persona?
Exactly.
You know what I'm saying? Kind of like this coded life. You know what I'm saying? Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, awesome. I'm glad that you're speaking about this because this is so important. Okay, one more number and then we're going to go into the break. So 1 to 50.
6.
6, okay. What are, oh, I'm sorry, I misread this. What words have stuck with you throughout your life?
Wow. The one that comes to mind right now is my mother's words, of course. You know what I mean? Your mother is like that first source of, you know, programming.
Yeah.
And one of the things that she would say to me, and it was like a double-edged sword. I'm gonna be 100 with you.
Okay.
It was a double-edged sword for me for a really long time.
Definitely.
She would say, number 1, you black. Number 2, you African. Number 3, you're a woman. So you gotta, you know what I'm saying? She said you have 3 strikes against you. You know what I mean? So the reason why I said that this is a double-edged sword for me, because for a long part of my adult life, I looked at myself as having 3 strikes already against me, kind of like way behind the 8 ball. And in a sense, you know, in this society, you know what I'm saying, with dealing with white supremacy, that is the position that I am in, you know? So I was never, it took me a really long time to recognize how to see that as an empowering thing as opposed to a deficit. Because I was operating from a place of deficit for a really long time.
I have to catch up when I'm in the same room as people that don't look like me. And it's
so now it created this whole sense of I'm not enough, I'm not worthy. Yeah. You know what I mean?
Like, I'm glad I'm even with these people or hanging out with these, you know.
You know what I mean? And I know my mother said that in a place, coming from a place of love, because she had navigated this space a little bit longer than I did. And she knew some of the things that I was going to have to come up against. But never really kind of gave me all of the, you know what I'm saying, the deeper tools that I needed. But again, this is a part of my life journey. You know what I'm saying? Is to now be able to now dig deeper to cultivate those tools for myself to be able to navigate this space, this time-space reality from a very confident, very grounded, centered place. You know what I mean? It took a lot of inner work to get there. You know what I mean? A lot of inner questioning and just
soul searching.
Yeah, soul searching.
Like, what am I separate from my mom? Is like a whole people that a lot of people don't understand that. It's like, you know, I know some people know where they come from, but then it's like, who am I outside of that? I'm the next generation of this, and what am I going to do with my qualities and everything that I bring to the table? And it's just a crazy experience.
So that was a double-edged sword for me, but now I see that as I'm standing in a very empowered place when I think of those 3 blessings. I don't think of them as 3 strikes anymore. I think of them as 3 blessings, 3 gems in my crown. Definitely. You know? So
yes.
3 gems in the crown.
Speak that good word, sis. Speak that good word.
3 gems in the crown.
It's true.
You know? Because now, you know, we operate from this place when we see everything that's going on, like when we realize that we are the tastemakers, we're the trendsetters, we are the ones who they constantly bite in and you know what I'm saying, trying to do the duplicate and make replicas of.
Definitely.
You know what I mean?
Paying for it, looking like it, hiring people to make them look like this in
hiring people to now, how do we now attract this $1 trillion buying power that is amongst these people?
Thank you. Because we have the money. It's just where we spend it.
And what we value. What we value.
Is the core. Definitely. So let's take a quick break. And then we already got into some good stuff. But we're just going to get into more good stuff. We'll be right back. All right, so everyone, we took a quick break and I'm back with Satta, my special guest. And we earlier were just kind of getting into just who she is as a person and just a little bit about her, not too much. So you didn't miss a lot. So don't get nervous. However, we are going to jump into more so of really what she does, especially if people are interested. Right now we're talking about yoga and yoni. So what kind of birthed that and just inspired that for you?
So yoga and the yoni, it was just me. Again, I'm a very holistic person. When I say holistic, I like to bring in together like all the different things that I have going on together and let them work cohesively together, because I feel like, you know, I live a very holistic lifestyle. Things are not in a compartmentalized type of reality. I don't live a compartmentalized reality. So the fact that I'm a yoga instructor and now moving forward and, you know, doing doula work and empowering women with their reproductive, you know, health, because, you know, let's be real, you know, we as Black women, we are at a deficit. We're suffering a lot, you know,
passing
in our
away.
Passing away,
and on birth, like on tables, and becoming statistics, and it's not really being talked about, and what you know, what's happening with that. Exactly.
And if you look at the history of Western gynecology, we have been public enemy number one since the inception of Western gynecology. And not to say that I am against Western gynecology at all, but I feel like we now need to really take a deeper look and really be more informed and educated And that's kind of where my journey started, you know, educating myself more about, okay, so what are the alternative health modalities that I need to be looking into when it comes to preserving and making sure that my reproductive health is operating at, you know, its optimum level, you know. And I was introduced, so years ago, in my early 20s, I was introduced to a book, it's like the Bible right now. It's like the Black Woman Bible right now.
I'm like, do tell, because you know we want to know.
Absolutely. So this book, I literally was walking in Borders. I was just, you know, kind of perusing different books. And this book jumped out at me off of the bookshelf. And it was Queen Afua's Sacred Women. And this book changed my life. At that particular time, as I started looking into it, I wasn't emotionally and spiritually ready to receive it. It wasn't until years later when I would now I guess, you know, intuitively I felt that I needed to start to get my body ready, you know, for bearing children. I was in a relationship at the time, and he's a conscious brother, you know, and he reminded me of that book because he too was raised, you know what I mean, around his mother, who went through Queen Afua's, you know, Sacred Woman initiation and all of that. So it's in Queen Afua's book is really intense. It's not for, you know, the faint of heart, if I were to say. It's very intense.
I'm like, because I'm emotional. And,
you know?
Yeah.
And it really, like, even the beginning of the book, it makes you ask very intense questions about, you know, what are some of the intimate encounters that you have with men? Do you even know the man who is sleeping in your bed next to you? Does he know who you are? Does he know who your womb is? You know what I mean? What your womb is about? You know, she introduced me to terms like toxic sperm. You know what I'm saying? Because, like, let's be real. We got some brothers out here that don't even drink water.
Yeah.
I read a post.
I laugh, but I don't mean to laugh.
I don't know if this was a fake tweet or not. But I remember I reposted it in my private group too. My brother was just like, ew, like, who drinks water? Like, only thing I drink is lemonade and Hennessy. I was like, see, these are the toxic brothers.
That's a down. I'm posting this on my Instagram, this part especially, because
these are the toxic brothers that y'all be letting all up in your womb space, sometimes hitting
and then wonder
why
you get sick, and
wondering why you got BV, wondering why you got yeast infections, wondering why you got all of these issues. You know what I'm saying? Because of toxic sperm. You know what I mean? And it taught me a lot. It taught me to look at the lifestyle that I was living. Not to say that, you know, even though I was educated about this thing, there was still deeper issues that needed to come to the surface. And we're still doing the work. You know what I mean? I have by no means arrived, but I feel like I have gotten a good sense of a good understanding of what it is or what it takes to take care of yourself, you know what I mean, on a holistic level. You know, I'm even at the position now, because I even had the pleasure of meeting Queen Afua and speaking with her. I was sitting in her dining room in Brooklyn, and she was like, you know what? So she did some guided meditation with me and everything, and she was like, you know what? You remind me so much of myself when I was younger.
You must have been like,
I was like, are you kidding me right now?
Little old me.
Exactly. You know what I mean? And again, because of the place that I was in, I was, you know, still trying to work through, you know, the self-worth stuff, the valuing self stuff, you know what I mean? So she told me, she was like, the work that I'm doing here in Brooklyn, you're going to do where you live. And I was like, how is that going to even happen? You know what I mean? Like, how is that how is that going to happen? And I feel like she spoke, she spoke to my life. She spoke words of, you know, she planted seeds of inspiration into my life when we had that exchange. So now here I am, fast forward many years later, doing the work. And you, as you mentioned earlier, my book. So I self-published a book. It's called The Sweet Yoni Love Letters.
Yes.
What
an amazing title, first of all.
The sweet Yoni love letters. And again, it came through a lot of these holistic practices. Me doing the salt baths and doing ritual baths and things like that. Because that's one of the parts of Queen Afua's teachings in the Sacred Woman book. Waking up at 4 a.m., having your sacred woman time, alone time, doing the meditation, your yoga, doing salt baths.
I'm shaking my head because I'm looking like...
I know, like I said.
And I know people listening are like, wait, did she say skirt?
4 in the morning?
Did she say 4 in the morning? No, but it's true. And it's like, how do we all, or not we all, but how does an individual get to a place where they are at 4 in the morning? They care enough about their internal to wake up at 4 in the morning and do all of these things that really benefit them, clearly.
When I first was doing it, I'll keep it 100 with you. When I was first doing it, it felt like a heavy task and chore for me. It wasn't until life, whooped my behind. You know what I'm saying? Because
with that fire right up under there.
Yeah, it wasn't until life whooped my behind that I realized, I was like, oh, okay, I get it. Because I realized certain toxic situations that I attracted was because I was operating from a place of low self-worth, low self-love. You know what I'm saying? Like, I didn't take my self-love seriously enough. And that's what attracted these toxic predicaments. You know what I mean? Like, and that's why I give thanks to, I call them my angels in disguise. You know what I'm saying? My partners that I've had in the past, they allowed me to put that mirror, to look in the mirror, because when you're in a relationship with somebody, they are your mirror. They're your spiritual and emotional mirror.
They definitely
are. You know what I mean? And if it wasn't for me having those encounters with those men, it showed me, okay, you are operating from a place of like your self-love, on the self-love barometer, you on E, sis.
You're like,
your car about to start smoking.
Yeah. You drove past E for yesterday, today, and you're going into tomorrow. And
your car about to start smoking soon. So that's what now gave me, and also for having to go through those experiences and the harshness of it, and you know what I'm saying, the heartbreak, the disappointment that came with that. I needed the salt bathing rituals now to, you know what I mean, rejuvenate myself and make myself whole again. You understand? So that's where the discipline, that was the motivation behind the discipline to now, okay, you need to be going to sleep no later than 10:30, 11 o'clock,
to wake up,
so that you can wake up. And now it's like, it's like autopilot. I wake up, you know what I'm saying? I mean, I'm not waking up.
Your body is like, I know what you're waking up for. You're waking up for greatness. You're waking up because you care about yourself. We're already woken up. Like, we're awake.
And it's so interesting too, because I came across this woman's Instagram page. Her name is Bishop Tricia. She started a thing called the Nap Ministry. Yo, this is, if you ever get a chance, go and type in the Nap Ministry on Instagram. She is dope. She's talking about how taking naps, like she literally started a practice where, like, downtown Atlanta, people that are working in the downtown district can now come on their lunch break and take naps, because she was like, this whole capitalist system has duped us into thinking that in order to be productive, you always got to be working, you always got to be moving, the sleep is the enemy, the pillow sleep is my enemy, you know what I'm saying? I'll sleep when I'm dead, type of thing, you know what I'm saying? And we come from a people, especially those that have ancestors that experienced being enslaved,
the harsh
working
treatment,
the fields,
literally working, like,
so it's like we are being robbed. She's like, we are being robbed of the sacred things that happen in our dream space. We're being robbed of our dream space when we're not resting properly. You know what I mean? Right?
I'm right? Like, that is like that.
We are being robbed of our dream space, and there's so many magical things that happen in that dream space.
There are.
Literally, my grandmother came to me in a dream and gave me the mantle of being a doula, being a holistic practitioner. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? It was in the dream space that happened.
And had you not been in the dream space, that wouldn't have come to you.
If I didn't,
your ancestors would have they maybe would have found you in different ways, perhaps. But
if I didn't value, the time of meditation, you know what I'm saying? Even laying in shavasana, what we call shavasana in yoga, laying in that restful meditative space, even for 10 minutes, 15 minutes goes a long way. I've gone through, I've had, very inspirational things happen in those small spaces of time, you know what I mean, for me, that have given me the inspiration. Like, all right, I remember Sweet Yoni love letters came from me in a meditative state in a salt bath. You know what I mean? Like, come on, these are like, you know what I mean, things that
important spaces.
This
for
is
your
now
body,
creating
mind.
A stream of income for myself now. But capitalism told me I gotta work 40 plus hours.
And yoga isn't for you.
Right.
Because of the way that you look, or it's for these people and the way that they look.
That's how I kind of got into my journey. So yoga and the yoni, I'm now culminating these things, right? So talking about things that we can be doing, because in Queen Afula's book, and even in her practice, she has helped women alleviate fibroids naturally. Through diet, through, you know what I'm saying, exercise, and just different things. Diet being a huge piece, and different herbs and different things like that. And then, but for me, what I was running into, how can I create a more practical, guide for people that are like coming into it? Because, coming into it, reading a book, like, not to say that Sacred Women, you know what I mean, should be put to the side at all. That is, my, go-to all the time. And it inspired Sweet Yoni Love Letters. But Sweet Yoni Love Letters is a more short, practical guide. So the way I wrote the book, it goes from A to Z. So we start with letter A and the different, holistic modalities all the way to letter Z, to take into consideration when it comes to your health. So we have affirmations. I talk about breath work. I talk about color therapy. I talk about dance, the importance of dance and exercise, herbs, different teas, steaming, yoni steaming, which is, become very popular now in the landscape. A lot of women are talking about it. A lot of women are now going to different spas and receiving treatment. I'm even administering, yoni steam, because this is something new, it's an old thing that has become new again, right? Because, our ancient foremothers, this was their practice, you know what I mean? But we got cut off from that history and that heritage in a sense, and now we're reclaiming it back. So, I've seen things circulating, like, people like, oh, the vagina is self-cleaning. You know what I mean? Yeah, it's self-cleaning. It's self-cleaning, but you cannot discredit the therapeutic benefits that you can get from an herbal steam now saturating that part of your body. And that's what you're getting. You're getting a therapeutic experience. Like I've had yoni steams where, I'm sitting there in meditation and a lot of things come up for me. A lot of old womb traumas come up for me, and it now allows me the opportunity to address it, to figure out how do we transmute this now.
And for people that are interested, I know I haven't had children yet, but I'm very interested in just like alternative ways and what's out there for me as a woman, as a Black woman, as a being, in society. I am just so interested in everything that you're talking about and what you offer. So for people that are listening, that are hanging on your every word, where can they find you?
So right now I'm in the process of reconstructing my website, but my domain name is myholisticroots.com. That's where you can find me. But in the meantime, I am, connecting with people via social media a lot. So you can find me on Instagram. My Instagram handle is @myholisticroots. And you can also find me on Facebook. My Facebook page is Holistic Roots Movement. And if you would like to join my private group, it is Yoga and the Yoni Healing Circle. You just have to answer a few questions before you join the community. And, you know, I welcome you in so that, you know, I'm always putting out content and different things that you can, you know, take into consideration when it comes to thinking about and learning about, you know, alternative ways of taking care of yourself.
Definitely. And that is really like the biggest part of soul searching. And that's why I do what I do. That's why I invite these amazing guests such as Satta on my show, just to show you all that there is a higher quality of life if you want it. If this is for you, or just to answer questions, or to present you material that you may have never heard of or seen before. And so I hope you all enjoyed it, and I'm just so happy that I finally got you on the show. I've been trying forever, and it was like scheduling and life and everything, but thank you so much for coming on.
Absolutely. Thank you for having me, and I hope to come again sooner than later.
Yes, definitely. Thank you for listening to another episode of The Business of Soul Searching. If you have any exciting soul searching stories, please email them to thebusinessofsoulsearching@gmail.com for a possible shout out in next week's episode. Most importantly, take a calculated risk this week. Don't do it for me, do it for you.